Why didn't your efforts translate to votes?
Well, that's something we will reflect on, and we will listen to New Zealanders around the country, and we'll be very carefully analysing the details of tonight's votes. We know that we've got some work to do. We know we've started that work. We have an impressive raft of changes that we've already made, and our canvassing results this time show that progress is underway, but there's more to do. And guys, not soon enough.
2 questions, please.
Last 2.
But when you say not soon enough, are you talking about a vote this week?
Oh, no. Our process will be over by Christmas. Beyond that, that's a matter for conversation with my senior party and caucus colleagues.
Have you done the numbers? Have you called your caucus?
No, I haven't, because there hasn't been time. I have had a lot of feedback and a lot of support. This isn't actually about me. This is about the party going forward. What I will be campaigning for is a mandate for change and renewal. And it will be up to the party to decide who they think is best able to do that.
Will you put your personal ambitions aside for the good of the party if it's needed?
Yes, I will. I've seen people put their personal lives aside for the good of the party and the country, and I have plenty of courage to do that if that's what I think is the right thing. But that's not what the message is that I'm getting. The message is that I should be carrying on to lead this party, to lead the change process, and to lead it to government.
But that's not what the New Zealand public has told you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing by the pack there, the media pack, and David Cunliffe. Lisa Owen, our reporter there, out in Newland. So this is back in the city. This is the waterfront. This is down by the Wynyard Quarter, for those of you who know Auckland, where the pedestrian drawbridge goes over the water. Just beside that, the convention centre, and John Key is about to arrive and talk to his people there. Is that Wayne Eagleson going in? I can't see, it's too dark. Anyone, Tianga, what do you think the Nats are feeling tonight? They will be ecstatic, won't they?
They would be ecstatic, and they have every reason to be. I think they'll be feeling a little ecstatic as well that Hone Harawira's out of the picture.
Yeah.
He's been a bee in their bonnet. And now he's not going to be in Parliament for the next 3 years at least.
Yeah.
And quite a weakened opposition, because what you're going to see, and you saw that signalled by what David Cunliffe said, Labor is going to look inside, it's going to look internally. It's not actually going to be looking at the government for quite a while, is my pick. Winston Peters is going to be the voice of opposition, so are the Green Party for a while. So I think that National will have a pretty clear run, actually, to do what they want to do, and they've got the
National
numbers
will
to
have a
do
clear
it.
run for 2 terms now,
because I think that's entirely possible.
The way Labor is speaking now, the way Cunliffe has been speaking, this puts them right back at square one. They need to refresh that party. They need to change leader, but there are a few things they've got to do before they do that.
Well, people have got to go. They've got to have a whole lot of. But I wanted to talk about that because there is some renewal, not in the way that they hope, but because of the list vote is so low. Andrew Little, who might have fancied himself as being a leader of the Labor Party one day, he's out.
He's gone.
He's gone.
So he's lost.
He couldn't win a seat, so he was never going to be leader, but he's out on the list. So Clayton Cosgrove is out.
So he lost Waimakariri?
Yep, and didn't get in on the list. Okay. So the only list people coming through on Labor's very, very low result is David Parker, Jacinda Ardern, and I think Sue Moroney might just make it by the skin of her teeth, but I'm not quite sure.
That's touch and go with Sue Moroney, but
Jacinda
it was mentioned earlier. She is back.
And
She's definitely back.
Duncan was going to talk about that before. Nikki Kay has retained Auckland Central for the Nats. That was where Jacinda Ardern was competing for an electorate seat.
Yeah. But she's so highly placed on the list, she will just squeak in. But that's woeful, actually.
One other quick thing that David Cunliffe mentioned, he said when he was talking about how well they'd done and praising everyone, saying how proud he was, he said that Labor had done well with Pacific Island voters. That actually isn't true. There has been a swing to the right in the Pacific community. So
in the Pacific community, the Labor vote is down 3% and the National vote is up 2%. And interestingly, in the elderly vote, this is absolutely fascinating, Labor, who promised free GP visits to the over 65s, no thank you, they said. Labor's vote among the elderly down 2 points. National, who said no, that was too generous, their vote went up 1 point.
When did the others in New Zealand first pick up the other point?
No, Conservatives got 5% among the elderly. So if it was just the over 65s voting, Colin Craig would have been in tonight.
So it's not that the elderly don't want free doctors' visits, it's that they don't want Labor.
I think also they know that was a...
They know what they can believe.
They know what they can believe.
Tianga, let's bring you in here, because there is a big constituency of Māori support for Labor. So that's gone back behind Labor, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, they set out to reclaim all 7 seats, which was never going to be the case with Tuturoa Flavel holding down Waiariki.
And deservedly so.
But for them to gain claims 6 seats is a huge success for them.
Yeah.
And I said earlier, what the two ticks has worked for them in the Māori seats, but it hasn't worked for them in the general seats.
Yeah, and in a small caucus, that gives the Māori MPs a deal of power, doesn't it? It gives them a lot of leverage. Let's look at this overall. 48.1 for National, 99% return. Labour 24.7. The Greens stable at 10 there. New Zealand First 8.9. The Conservatives down. They were as high as 4.5 early in the evening. The Māori Party 1.3. Internet Mana 1.3, which gets them no MPs because they didn't win. Hone Harawira did not win. ACT 0.7. No MPs other than David Seymour winning in Epsom.
And the only population group that Labour has actually held its support from the previous election, apart from Māori voters, and there's a crossover here, are the most poor, the very poor. And there is something here to be said about the poverty issue. I think if you look at National, although it's an outstanding result for them at 48%, all of the other parties believe that the National Party's approach to poverty is wrong. The National stands on its own, well, with the ACT Party.
Well, it hasn't hurt them, though, has it?
No, but there's a lot of New Zealanders actually think that issue of the dividing gap between rich and poor is something to be worried about.
But that's true, but then you look at the parties that have pushed that the most and they're no longer represented in the House, are they?
It's not an issue that's going to go away, though.
Duncan said earlier that the Māori Party are going to have 2 seats. Let's talk about the second person who's going to sit on that seat, and that's Marama Fox, a woman who's come through the education system, koanga reo kura kaupapa whare kura, works with the Ministry of Education, one of the most articulate Māori politicians I've seen.
Has 9 children.
She is vital. She's vital for the rejuvenation of that party.
She's a real plus.
She's also vital for the conversation that we were having about 30 seconds ago, which is speaking on behalf of a constituency who now don't have much representation in this parliament. Here's John Key arriving at the Wynyard Quarter, down at the convention centre on the waterfront. Their miserable night in Auckland, but not for the Nats. There's Brona giving a cheery wave out the window. It has been a triumphant night for National.
This is a spectacular result for John Key. It is historic, it is spectacular. And a lot of this result comes down to that one man.
I know that if they got 44%, you would have said that, Paul, but actually, I'm going to agree with you.
That is not true.
Yeah, look, I'm very, very happy. Obviously, a huge night for us. And, fantastic night, I think, for the country. But, look, I just want to thank the people that voted for National. I mean, they came out, they supported us. It was always going to be a tough campaign. Some things made it a little bit tougher, but, National voters just wanted us back and they voted for us in droves.
Kim.com gone. Kim.com absolutely wiped out, and there's Hone Harawira gone too. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, there are always winners and losers in election campaigns, but I think underneath it all, actually, New Zealanders knew that this was their election. They wanted to own that election. They didn't want people interfering with that. And I think, what you really saw was people come out and say, look, they're going to vote for the future of the country and for the issues that matter and not be distracted.
Prime Minister, do you think that the Kim.com factor was part of the last-minute boost for the National Party?
I don't know. I mean, in the end, our polling was always very strong. It was a bit stronger than the public polls, so, really we called it pretty right. But there's a lot of different factors in there. It certainly drowned out a lot of oxygen, maybe from other political parties as well. But, we had a good 6-year track record. I think people fundamentally at the core of it, a big group of New Zealanders wanted to see us back, and we're just going to have to work hard for them over the next 3 years.
What about Winston Peters? What about Winston Peters? Will you reach out to Winston Peters even though you don't need him?
Look, my plan will be to go and talk to the political parties I indicated I'd prefer to work with, ACT United and the Māori Party.
So he's out?
Well, I think in the end, that's the logical grouping. That's why I indicated, 12 months ago, really, with the 3 that I'd like to work with. And I think that makes sense. We'll have, obviously the specials and others to vote, to count, but I think we'll have enough on those.
So Winston is out, he won't get a phone call?
I don't think he'll want one, but anyway, thank you.
As John Key...
He's not going to get a phone call.
As John Key walks in, I think that was fascinating because what John Key was saying there is, and what the coalition Duncan's been building all night,
Totally.
Which is ACT, David Seymour, United Future, Peter Dunn, the Māori Party, and National. No New Zealand First.
It was ridiculous that Stephen Joyce suggested that they would possibly talk to Winston Peters. They don't need to. Why would you? Why would you talk to Winston?
They simply don't need to.
No.
And there is not enough agreement to do it. And he wouldn't be, he wouldn't be open to it, frankly.
I said earlier that he'd be delighted that Hone Harawira is not in the frame, but I think he'd be more delighted that Kim.com's not part of the party.
Yeah. Although this is the bizarre thing, isn't it? Kim.com was never standing for Parliament. It's just that his party is... And, the party he funded. Here he comes now.
There's Eminem.
Gosh, I hope they're paying for it.
This has been a huge night for the Nats. One thing, who will be the Minister of Māori Affairs? Duncan.
Could be Tūroro Flavel.
My money would be on him.
Yeah, Hekia Parata. But she's doing, she's currently got the education role. So
I would pick Te Aroha. I mean, and that's basically what John Key just said outside the room just now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think Hekia will probably keep education, and she probably should.
She should. She's doing a good job.
And her work's not finished there, and Key likes what she's doing, so...
And he has stood by her resolutely, hasn't he? Although, look at what Bolger did in 1993. Although the Nats didn't do as well in 1993, but Bolger did use the opportunity to reshuffle, didn't he?
Oh, there'll be a reshuffle.
Yeah.
And some of the current cabinet ministers, I think, will either go down the pecking order or out altogether.
Yeah.
There has to be.
You know what I'm thinking now as I'm watching this? This is very good for the country, and very few people were picking a definitive result tonight, and that's exactly what we've got.
So these are live shots coming in from the convention centre down on Auckland's waterfront. John Key, I don't know whether he's talking to somebody now. Maybe he is talking to Te Aroha Flavel. Who knows? Stephen Joyce, having a chat with Stephen Joyce, although obviously they talk to each other on the phone constantly. Stephen Joyce has done a great job of running the campaign for the Nats. John Key just maybe putting some finishing touches on his speech.
Our Prime Minister, John Key, and his wife, Garner.
The Nats have avoided copyright on music by actually playing the worst music in the history of the world. So as John Key and Bryna wander up onto the stage, let's just reflect on what a phenomenally successful night the Nats have had. John Key, I think. Yeah, here we go.
But just look at that. That is one slick machine. What Paddy said earlier is exactly right.
Yeah.
They campaigned, I mean, they are in government, but they just look like that's where they belong.
This is 2 terms. This is winning 2 terms here, not 1.
Well, if Key stays.
And he wants to.
I asked him that at home with the leaders, and I think he does want it.
He's got records to set now.
Yeah.
He's looking at bigger records.
Yeah.
Well, certainly after this campaign, they threw everything at him, and he's still standing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a victory for those who kept the faith. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a great night. This is a victory for those who kept the faith. This is a victory for those who refused to be distracted and who knew that a vote for National was a vote for a brighter future for all New Zealanders. This was a victory for the people, the policies, the unity and the vision that National will bring to government for the next 3 years. So tonight I've had a call, a very gracious call from David Cunliffe, who has conceded defeat, and I thanked him for that. Win or lose, campaigns can be tough, and this one was a tough one, so I thank David and the Labour team. And so, for the 3rd consecutive election night, I stand in front of you proud that more New Zealanders have given their party vote to National than any single party. John Key, John Key, John Key, John Key, John Key, John Key, John Key. For the 3rd election, for the 3rd consecutive election night, I stand here delighted that there will be more National MPs in the Parliament than from any other single party. And for the 3rd consecutive election night, I stand here ready to lead our country and to work with like-minded parties to continue to provide the strong and stable government that is working for New Zealand. I feel both humbled and at the same time energised by the result and the prospect of a 3rd term. And I want to thank everyone who, in the hope and expectation that National would continue to lead a strong, stable government, came out, over 1 million of you, and gave your party vote to National. Can I take a moment just to thank the voters of Helensville who, election after election, continue to support me. Thank you so much. I'm proud to represent you. So, my friends, MMP was designed to encourage parties to work together. And so in the coming days, I will talk to other leaders of political parties with a view to putting together a broader majority and to ensure a durable and strong government. In the meantime, I can assure New Zealanders that everything else will continue ticking over as usual. Tonight, many people have been part of the success. It's the efforts of so many, combined with the party's vision that makes National strong. It's the strength of our party, our unity, our faith in each other, and the values that we stand for that sustained us during this election campaign. But I have some personal thanks I want to share with you this evening. And they start with our President, Peter Goodfellow, who's just done an outstanding job over the last 3 years. Can possible, for putting up the billboards and delivering the pamphlets, and for being with us the whole time. And can I give a very special shout out to the young Nats who were there during the campaign. You are the biggest political movement on campus, and we need you. There's one person that made this victory possible, and he's standing to my right, the best Minister of Finance in the developed world, Bill English. And Mary, we want to thank you for sharing Bill with us. I want to thank my ministers and my caucus, which has got a bit bigger as a result of tonight. I want to thank the man who got about 4 hours sleep a night and coughed his way through the entire campaign, Stephen Joyce, our campaign manager, campaign chair, and a very special person who does so much work and has made the whole operation work, Jo DeJoux. She is an outstanding campaign manager in the campaign team. Can I say a very personal thanks to my Chief of Staff, Wayne Eagleson, and to my Deputy Chief of Staff, Paula Oliver, and the brains behind the operation, Grant Johnson, and my PA who's retiring after 12 years, Emma Holmes. To our media team, Kelly Boxall and Sia Aston, and the whole media team that's been with me day after day. And to the team that's travelled with me from one end of the country to the other, Laura and Libby, Angie and Cam. And can I make one special thank you to the best pollster in New Zealand, that don't charge us more for it, David Farrer, who got his numbers right. And whom I rang night after night, even though I was told not to, just to check. I didn't tell them all that, but I know I shouldn't have, but anyway, whatever. It was our little secret. Can I thank my team in Helensville, Stephen McRoberts and Steve Franklin, the whole team did a magnificent job for us. But there's one group of people that make tonight possible, and my time in politics possible, and that's my absolutely beautiful and amazing family, my beautiful wife, Brona. Can I thank our daughter Steffi, who's in Paris, who voted a couple of days ago and did, in the middle of the amusement of the whole campaign, decided that she ticked one more thing off her bucket list when a rapper had done a song about her. Not necessarily one that Dad approved of, but nevertheless, that's the way it goes. And can I thank our first-time voter, Max, who's looking pretty swish tonight, I think, but they were the group of people that sent me text messages and WhatsApp and rang during the campaign, during the hard bits of the campaign, just to say keep going, and without them it wouldn't have been possible. Thank you very much. So let me finish by saying that for the past 6 years I've enjoyed a privilege afforded to only a very small group of New Zealanders, and that's to lead our country. In that time, I've never stopped marvelling at the creativity, the ingenuity, the compassion, the generosity and kindness of New Zealanders. We are the finest little nation on the planet, and I truly believe that. And our future as a country is bright. Our opportunities are unlimited. So tonight, whoever you voted for, I can pledge this to you, that I will lead a government that governs for all New Zealanders. And although as New Zealanders we hold a range of political views, I think we can all as a nation agree on one thing. We are lucky and rightfully proud to call New Zealand home and to be Kiwis. Enjoy the night. Thanks very much.
John Key to a rapturous standing ovation down on Auckland's waterfront. I will lead a government that governs for all New Zealanders, one of the final points he made. It's been an extraordinary night for the National Party.
Absolutely, and for Key. I mean, that is, you know, we've hardly mentioned it, but this is term 3 for Team Key.
That's right.
Helen Clark couldn't increase her vote on the third time round. It's very, very rare to do it, so that's a phenomenal achievement. He is untouchable, really.
He is untouchable.
And if he wants a 4th term, he's very well placed to get it after that vote tonight.
And I don't know what the detractors will be saying now, but you heard in Cunliffe's speech when he was saying, well, no, because this is one in the eye for them. And you heard Cunliffe say, you know, there was a mood for change. There wasn't a mood for change.
Totally.
He got Cunliffe's speech was entirely wrong. He could have handled that so much better. He should have been talking directly to those Labour supporters that abandoned them and virtually apologising rather than congratulating the team.
Well, that's why I think we do know what the detractors will say, because I don't think Labour has heard, and so what we'll hear in the next couple of weeks is exactly what we've heard for a long time already.
Taonga, what is the message for the Labour Party, do you think?
Yeah, they need to refresh. They need to connect. They need to become relevant to the voter. And what we've seen tonight, they've become irrelevant in where it counts.
Which is just extraordinary, given the lesson they were taught 6 years ago, that we're still saying that this is what they need to do.
Well, the really difficult thing for Labour now is there's a whole lot of old-timers who need to retire, but they're holding seats. So if they retire, there's a by-election. Labour's broke. It will be broke tonight. It has no money in the coffers. It's got a president who's been unable to raise money for them.
Well, that was one of the interesting things that Cunliffe did refer to. Money.
So
they have to raise money.
They can't really afford for anyone to resign because they can't afford to fight a by-election. But if they don't fight some by-elections and bring some new people in, then they're never going to refresh.
Yeah.
Some of those people have been MPs in Labour in the time that it's taken me to become political editor, be political editor for a whole age, retire from television, raise twins who are about to go to high school, become a lawyer, and they're still sitting there.
One of the worst lines for Labour out of this whole election coverage is Trevor Mallard holds on. I mean, God, that is the last thing you want.
Well, they needed every seat, right? So that's why they're congratulating Trevor, but actually they need Trevor to go and a whole lot of others.
Yep.
That's grim, isn't it? That was one of those silences, John.
Yeah, well, no, we're all... I mean,
can I just say, there's one person whose name we haven't mentioned tonight. A big shout-out to Judith Collins, who holds...
Poor Henry.
Stop! Hapakura by almost 5,000 votes.
Well, stop. Time for a commercial break.
Judith,
seldom in the history of television have people been so relieved to have a commercial break. Paul Henry.
When I find out who killed my wife, I'm gonna reach out, offer him a helping hand. Once I'm inside, I'm gonna let him know that I was the one who ruined him. Then I'm gonna look around his family, ask him who he once spared. First person he points to, that's who I'm killing. I'm gonna let him live in the agony of that for a little while, and then I'm gonna end him.
Brought to you by The Rock, the final season of Sons of Anarchy, 9:35 Tuesday on 3.
You can get more done this spring with our low prices.
9-volt batteries, $18.64. Smoke alarms, $6.97. And if you happen to find a lower price on the same stocked item, we'll beat it by 15%.
Lowest prices are just the beginning.
This is Audrey. She's on her way to somewhere important, despite a nasty cold. And despite a broken shoe and an overly enthusiastic canine, and an unusual huddle of slow walkers, and a freak cargo accident. You see, Audrey is a certain type of person. She's a soldier-on person, thanks to the powerful relief of Codral.
This month, you can get a whole lot more fun for even less money. That's as much fun as you can handle from just $18,990 in a brand new Suzuki Swift GL. See suzuki.co.nz for more fun, less money.
You know you lay me up inside. You know you turn me on. But you got me burning.
If this is how Peter Pit feels, imagine how it tastes. Have your Peter custom made right in front of you. I'd go bacon, beetroot, little bit of feta. Peter Pit, eat yourself happy.
Welcome to the Salvation Army program for addiction services in Auckland. As a world-class treatment service, we help people who suffer from alcohol and other drug addiction. Addiction is no respecter of where you might live or what you might do or how much you might earn. Addiction is something that affects everyone.
If you think you might have a problem with drugs, alcohol or gambling, or if you're concerned about someone you know, give one of our addiction centres a call. It's just one of the things we do.
The Shrinkinator has shrunk all sorts of new minis for New World's Little Shop. And with every $40 you spend, you'll get one free. For a limited time. Only at New World.
Look, lunch is over, so this is over.
Whoa, whoa, is this a breakup? Is this a breakup?
What did we talk about?
No emotional attachments. It was only lunch. I just thought we would stay together for...
Don't make this any harder.
Well, I'm not leaving.
Break up with clingy food.
That went well.
Help keep teeth clean and healthy.
It's interest-free time at Mag and Turbo. That's right, 12 months interest-free with 36 months to pay on all mags, tyres, suspension and brake repairs. Interest-free deals on now, only at Mag and Turbo.
Sunday on CRC Motorsport. Rally Extreme rips up the Coromandel back roads. The MotoGP riders go head-to-head in San Marino. Then monster trucks bring the big-wheeled high-octane mayhem in Monster Jam. Your Motorsport, free to air on 3.
Welcome back, everyone. Lots of people talking about turnout and what exactly it is. We're going to clarify that. I think in terms of eligible voters...
Last time of eligible voters, all those in the adult population, basically, the turnout was 68, 69%. This time it seems to have gone up.
OK.
But not by as much as we all thought.
OK, we've got the Prime Minister standing by. Prime Minister, thank you for joining us and congratulations on a triumphant and overwhelming victory. You have had a remarkable night, haven't you?
Thanks very much, John. Yeah, look, it's a great night. It's a great night for the party. And I think it's a great night for the New Zealanders that, over 1 million of them, that just held faith with us and wanted to see us back, and they supported us. You know, there were times where it would have been easy for them to let us go, but I think they saw the economic direction we want to continue to take the country in and the things we'd achieved over the last 6 years, and they held on to us, which was very nice of them.
You said in your speech, it was a great phrase, I will lead a government that governs for all New Zealanders. What do you mean?
Well, I think in the end, you know, we go out and we vote, and that's a very important process. But as part of that voting, we need to recognise that not everyone votes for you, but the government is a government that has to manage issues for every New Zealander. And so, you know, there are lessons that you can learn, there are things that you can pick up, that engagement that you feel and see. And, you know, I always believed that one of the reasons we would hold our support was that in the worst of the economic times, we really did continue to fund and we had to borrow to fund programs to support the most vulnerable New Zealanders. And I know there's more work to be done. I accept that and I appreciate that. I think a strong economy will help, but we need to continue to focus on those really critical issues. So, you know, I accept that there are, you know, half the country, you know, won't have voted for us, but, you know, I'm committing to working hard for everybody.
Which is a great message to take away after a pretty unpleasant campaign, isn't it? And lots of tribal enmity, lots of animosity, lots of anger. Do you think that you can lead everyone in the context of the kind of unpleasantness we've seen from all parties, all tribes over the past few weeks?
Well, I wonder whether everyone won't take a step back and reflect on, you know, what's happened. I mean, I think, look, in a lot of ways, all of the distractions, whatever you think of the merits of them or otherwise, they drowned out the main message that New Zealanders wanted to talk about. You know, we eventually kind of got there in the end and had a few, you know, reasonable weeks on it. It was disrupted, obviously, in the early part of this week. But, you know, I do think this is the time when you have an election that people have a chance to reflect on the really big issues and how you as a potential government will take those forward. And I think when we don't have a, you know, proper campaign on the issues, we sort of do a disservice to the voters who desperately want to know about that stuff. And actually, genuinely, many are undecided and they do want a sense of what's happening. So in terms of the political process, you know, it's been a pretty bruising 6 weeks. It's a tough campaign, but we're through it anyway.
You most certainly are, in the most remarkable fashion. Let's talk about who you've spoken to tonight. Have you made any calls to the leaders of any other parties? Obviously, you've heard from David Cunliffe, who conceded defeat. Anyone else you've spoken to?
I haven't, but look, in the coming few days, my intention would be to speak to ACT United and the Maori Party. I sort of gave an indication at the start of the year they were our preferred 3 partners to continue working with. Yes, of course, technically on the numbers tonight, we don't need other partners, but MMP is a system designed to work with other political parties, and I think that would be a nice grouping to carry forward.
Certainly you've worked well with the Māori Party. Is there a cabinet position for Te Aurora Flavel, Minister of Māori Affairs? Possibly, I know it's very early on, but is that something you would consider?
Well, it's certainly something I wouldn't rule out. I mean, we have a lot of respect for Tuaroa. It's been a bit of a tough night for the Māori Party. But, we all come back to fight another day, and they've still got 2 members of Parliament. They did a lot of good work with us over the last 6 years. So let's see how it goes. We'll sit down and have a discussion with him, but he's a good man and he brings a lot, I think, to the country.
When we had our leaders debate, you talked about stable politics, and you were effusively and generously thanked and congratulated Bill English up on the stage tonight. To what extent do you think that Nationals' very orthodox economic management was an important issue in this campaign?
Overwhelmingly, it was the reason we won. Look, I'm really honest about it. I think people vote on the economy. When we looked at our own polling, the number of people indicating the country was going in the right direction, not the wrong direction, was massively in favour of the right direction. That reflected the economic management. Bill's a very smart Minister of Finance. One day when they go back and they write the history books on this government, they will see that he had a very long-term vision and plan. And so if you think about the investment in welfare, for instance, he's actually spent money to reduce overall cost and to move people off welfare and into work. And look, he was the guy who sat there, the 2 of us really talking about how we had to, basically stay the course with things like working for families and 0% loans. Even though we were borrowing to do that, he stood up, with Christchurch and the $15 billion. We're a team. I know a lot of attention gets focused on me, and I'm very grateful for the public support I get for that. But, we're a very, very strong team. We get on well and we think economically in very much the same way.
OK, you must be exhausted, absolutely exhausted. You and David Cunliffe and all the senior members of all the parties, I think, work incredibly long days. But the Prime Minister, you have long hours going into a campaign, and I know you've been doing 17, 18, 19-hour days. Are you buggered?
A little bit tired. I've been sort of going to bed slightly earlier, more 11 o'clock than midnight, which is the normal thing, but I get up at the moment about 5. So last night I went to bed and I thought, oh, that's great, I can have a little bit of a sleep in. But to be honest, kind of 5:15 I woke up and rolled around. I wasn't incredibly nervous. I always get a little nervous on election day. It'd be something weird if you didn't. But I wasn't incredibly nervous, but... it's like you say, it's a long campaign, but we'll get back into it. I mean, there'll be a lot of work to do. We'll have to get back sort of on the horse pretty quickly. But tonight, after we finish our media, we'll have a couple of drinks and roll around tomorrow and start thinking about putting a government together.
Well-deserved drinks. A couple of questions before you go and start enjoying those drinks. The Nats have had the experience of doing very poorly and rebuilding. What does Labor have to do? Now, far be it from you to offer them any advice, but as a man capable of empathy and understanding, what would you recommend David Cunliffe and Labor do now?
Well, I personally believe people vote on the issues that matter, and I know I've said that so often, but when you think about the core of politics, and in the end is the economy, it's those big issues, and it's aspiration. I mean, fundamentally, it's aspiration. It's that incredible belief that New Zealanders, can, with the right encouragement, turn their own lives around and make a difference to themselves. And that's just a story I continue to hear every day I'm out there. So, look, in the end, it's for them to decide how they're going to reflect, their own party. I actually thought David Cunliffe was a tough competitor on the campaign. I think most people will agree. He did a very good job in the debates. He speaks well. They'll have to go and reflect, and it's not for me to offer advice, but, I have a lot of respect for David. I thought he was tough. He was a tough guy on those debates.
A very gracious answer. One final question, I promise. And that question is, do you want a 4th term personally? In other words, can you do 3 more years of this exhausting job and fight another election campaign? Personally, are you up for that?
Well, I'd like to. I mean, standing here tonight, I mean, you've got to believe we've got a great chance of doing that. But, you know, I'm not silly enough to know that to get that 4th term, we have to deliver over the next 3 years. That's the big thing. People will be looking for us to continue economic growth, continuing to help, you know, the most vulnerable. I mean, you know, we've got things to do. And I think at the end, you earn the right to be the government, you earn the right to be the Prime Minister. And you have to keep doing that every day. And, you know, if we can keep doing it, I think the voters will stay with us. But MMP's tough and it's tight, and you can see even how tight this has been tonight. So, look, at the end of the day, let's see how it goes. I mean, a 4th term sounds great, but you got to earn it.
John Key, you are our Prime Minister. You have won comprehensively. Thank you for talking to us, and congratulations. We really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you. John Key, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. We're going to take an ad break, but just quickly before we go to the ads, Matthew, anything you want to say off the back of John Key?
Well, wasn't that a superb speech by the Prime Minister? He thanked his staff, he thanked the voters. There was a humility there that we didn't see from the other guy that was defeated tonight. In fact, he spoke more humbly than David Cunliffe did.
Ironically, he says that New Zealanders voted overwhelmingly for the national leadership in the economy. I actually think, again, that because they failed to make a bid for their vision of the economy, and even their own side criticised them for that. They've had a terrible campaign, and yet they still won. It was the left let themselves down
Bryce,
by not offering an alternative.
The Prime Minister yet again talked about the issues that matter, and I think that phrase is the one that's going to sum up this campaign. They won because of the issues that matter.
Right, everybody, we're going to take an ad break, and then I think Libby Lib, our director who has got my earpiece, we're going to take an ad break, and then we're going to come back and wrap the night. What a remarkable night it has been. Thank you for sticking with us, everyone. It's midnight. My children, if you're still up, go to bed. Everyone else, stay with us for 3 minutes and 45 seconds. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Sean, and every day I drive this awesome 5-ton truck doing landscape deliveries. Except for today, where I'll be test driving this Hyundai Accent for you. Oh, she's got a bit of zip in her. Good morning, darling. Hey.
Oh, yeah? It's got a bit of room, mate.
Keep coming. Oh, I could get used to this. Awesome. So there you go. When I drive a small car, I'll drive one.
It's morning, and I'm with you. The sun shines, and the sky is blue.
Get sorted for spring at Maida 10. Plant our exclusive new petunia, just $9.88 each. Get the veggie garden going with 5 6-packs for $10 and keep it watered with 20% off all Netta hoses. Spring into action at Maida 10, trusted by Kiwis for 40 years.
Now, tell me what you see in this image.
My new golf clubs.
Okay. And this?
Anniversary presents?
Right, okay. This?
My mechanic's bill.
If your credit card balance is playing on your mind, switch it to any ANZ credit card and enjoy 0% per annum for a whole year. Call us today.
You get over 4,000 Mondays in your life. Don't waste them. Nobody bothers on a Monday. Nobody cares. You should care. Care. Look the part. Suit, tie, shoes. Smell the part. Give Monday a dash of confidence, an essence of charm, a hint of swagger. Don't save your best for the weekend. Own Monday. Don't let it own you.
New Link's upgraded. Fine fragrances for every day.
At Burger King, we value value, which is why you can get a freshly made burger, fries, a drink and a sundae all from just $5. And because taste is king, we've added our tasty new chicken nugget burger to the Stunner meal range, just for you.
See this tablet? It's not a tablet. It's the digital flame to reignite the fire of your love. 32 gigabytes of child-minding, tear-binding time, just for you and your queen. This is no mere web surfboard, but 10,000 anytime tickets to Silence Island. Population, you two. Pack your bags, my liberated lovers. This is going to be the best damn 13 child-free minutes of your life. Thank you, quad-core mummy-daddy time maker. Maximize your machine.
125 years of quality brewing from Tui has brought you the wonderful... Hello? What's this? Tui Pilsner? A hoppier, fuller lager, eh? Don't mind if I do. Oh, hello.
$1 million of premium vacuum cleaners dumped into New Zealand this weekend.
Miele's half price. European Electrolux half price. Hoover's way less than half price. Steam Mop's half price $39. Hoover's 130 off $69. Godfrey's.
Want to win a Black Dog cat? Thanks to Saltwater Connection, now you can. Just spend $99 or more in store and you instantly go in the draw to win a brand new Black Dog cat of your very own. Hurry into Saltwater Connection today.
Welcome back, everyone. Just before we go on, this is very important. The Nation, a 1.5 hour special at 8 o'clock, which is only 7 hours and 58 minutes away. Is that right? Yes. Some people in here looking a bit exhausted because I think they're on it. Are you on it, Bryce?
Yes,
Oh, bloody hell. Okay,
I'll just
right.
sleep over there.
okay, just lie in the corner. Right, Duncan is going to give us a big wrap, I think, Duncan, over at the graphics panel.
I'll do that, John. I'm on that Nation tomorrow too, so straight home to bed, which is unusual for me. So, Kelvin Davis, 1,119 votes ahead. That's a final. That is a final, and that's exactly what the majority was for Harawira last time. He's overturned it and got the same majority. Kelvin Davis is an MP. It's a phenomenal result. Right, let's build the coalition, OK? So let's build the coalition. Now, you heard John Key there just before with John Campbell. What he said, he wanted to work with the same parties again. So 61 for National tonight. That's the final number. You put ACT on there as well, that goes to 62. You put United Future on there as well, that's 63. And the Māori Party's 2 MPs is 65. That'll be the government. Key has said that. That's the government. But look at this. If you wanted to put Winston Peters on there, not that Key does, he made that pretty clear, but if you wanted to, look at that. Look at the buffer you would have if Winston Peters decides to vote with National. On the other side, let's build the skyscraper on the left. That goes up to 45. Even when you put Peters back over there, nothing actually changes. This is, I'll just give my 2 cents here, John, this is a phenomenal victory, a historic victory by John Key. They threw everything at him. It completely didn't work. He's got more MPs and more votes this time than he did last time. He can go to bed tonight very, very happy and sleep very, very well. This is a historic and phenomenal victory for John Key.
Duncan, Garner, you've done a marvellous job over there running those graphics. The depth and breadth of your knowledge has come shining through and we really appreciate it. Superb work, Duncan Garner. Right, panel. This panel, so we've got 2 panels. We're going to have concluding remarks. Josie Pagani, you are looking at me like a woman who's got something to say. What do you want to say in closing tonight?
I was just looking at that graphic with Duncan, that we have let working people down. We're not representing them strongly in this parliament.
When you say we, who are you?
I'm talking about Labor and I'm talking about the left. We have to acknowledge, and it's hard, that this strategy has failed. The missing million, which we're meant to mobilise, the missing million are still missing. And I think when I listened to Cunliffe's speech there, I didn't hear him say that he wants change in a way that is real, because change hurts. And some people will have to go. And that means a renewal, not just of the leadership, and I don't even want to have that debate because I don't think that's the debate. The renewal has to come in the party. That means the President has to go, the General Secretary has to go, the organisation is failed. And that means someone like Nick Leggett, who there's Twitter going all over the place about him, young, dynamic Labor guy.
He's not even in caucus.
He's the mayor in President.
Yeah, okay.
President of the Labor Party.
He's the mayor of Harawira.
He's a popular mayor.
He's a popular mayor. He told me that he didn't feel if he put his name forward for a safe Labor seat, he would even get past pre-selection under the people who are running the party up till today.
Unity.
And that's just what's incredible.
Matthew, do you want to say some final remarks?
Just how incredibly historic this is. The last 2 elections John Key won, he won by the narrowest of margins. This one, he's romped home. And to give it some context, when Keith Holyoake won his 3rd term, he got 44% of the vote. Muldoon got 39 when he got his third term. Bolger was 34%. And even Helen Clark, when she got her third term, was down to 41. At 48%, we've never seen anything like this. And perhaps, given the problems in the Labour Party, we're moving towards, like, but in reverse, like some of the Scandinavian countries used to be, where you just have these incredibly long governments that govern with the consent of the people, taking the people along with them. And we certainly have moved on from the times of radical change in the 80s and 90s.
Bryce Edwards.
Well, it's been an extraordinary campaign, an extraordinary result and an extraordinary victory for National, and in some ways it will be seen as closing the book on dirty politics, on the GCSB scandal, but I don't think that is the case. I think there are still questions for this re-elected government, and I think that
sorry, Bryce,
this government is a bit tarnished.
These are your concluding remarks, but can you answer this question as part of your concluding remarks? I wondered if John Key was just getting at that, a tiny little implicit bit. And what he was saying is, hold on a sec, my side, as well as all sides. Yeah. Let's be somebody we can admire.
Certainly, I think what he was getting at is there has been this very aggressive, negative campaign, and I think that's going to flow over after today. And on the left, in the opposition parties, there is a bitterness, there's a anger, there's a frustration with this result. So I think we will have this quite polarised politics over the next few years, even though National has won so completely.
Bloody hell.
You don't get unity without diversity first. That's the problem the Labour Party's had. Contest of ideas, welcome people, don't shut them out.
The policy's been up till now, the expulsions will continue until the polls improve.
If change means purging, then we're lost.
Oh,
no more purging.
Matthew Hooton, Bryce Edwards and Josie Pagani, thank you for giving a damn, for caring so much. Lots of different points of view on this panel, but you all come from positions that are absolutely heartfelt, right?
John, you are marvellous.
Oh, thanks so much.
Totally marvellous.
Thanks, I'm buggered now, though. God. OK, thanks, Matthew, Bryce and Josie. Thank you for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. After the break, we're going to have a farewell and a conclusion from the other three in our excellent panel of six. So that's Te Anga, Linda and Paul. And then a good night from everyone here. Do stay with us for one final break in Decision 14.
News is a constant source of conversation.
It informs our lives and connects us to each other and the world.
As journalists, it's our responsibility to get a real perspective on what's happening firsthand.
Search and rescue teams have been working for 9 hours on this building.
Our viewers don't want us to simply sit back and report.
There's going to be a big party here today.
They know we'll be there.
Welcome to New Zealand politics. It's gone crazy.
And they can trust we'll get the full picture on the stories that matter to us all.
3 News for today's New Zealand.
To hydrify the air of the modern woman, I must feel what her air feels.
New refreshing hydration from Sunsilk with Aqua Minerals helps leave your hair hydrated and looking healthy. Sunsilk, easygoing care for outgoing hair.
Do not touch. Which part of do not touch do you not understand?
With our latest great rate, Westpac can help you get into a new home sooner. Start asking.
You can get more done this spring with our low prices.
9-volt batteries, $18.64. Smoke alarms, $6.97. And if you happen to find a lower price on the same stocked item, we'll beat it by 15%.
Lowest prices are just the beginning.
When it comes to protection, sometimes any old thing will do. And other times, you simply need the best. Which is why we've made Libra Invisible Pads the best they've ever been, with new printed absorbency zones. Combine this with our dry fast technology, and you can get out there and live it up, knowing that we've got you covered with Libra's ultimate pad protection. Libra, live fearless.
Good design is far more than just decoration. It's all part of what makes the Kia Sorento R an awesome SUV. Kia Sorento R. Test drive one today.
The Irwin curved jaw pliers have 3 times the gripping power of traditional locking pliers. And these groove locks are just twice as fast as traditional groove joint pliers. Irwin Vice Grip Pliers.
young couple got married on one tropical island, one acrobatic dance move ended with one badly broken leg. Fortunately, they had one cover travel insurance. To make sure you do too, make one phone call to 0800 000 333. One cover travel insurance. You can count on us.
Race into Repco this weekend for a massive 25% off. That's right, 25% off oil and filters, tools, car care, spare parts, seat covers, car stereos and heaps more. Hurry, 25% off this Saturday and Sunday, only at Repco.
Look at you. You tiger, you. You are looking good, Debbie. You've earned me. Hey, Debbie, remember your 5th birthday? We got that puppy.
With 60% less carbs per serve than most bread, Cruskets can keep you on track to feeling lighter.
Welcome back, everyone. I don't know why I'm standing on an angle.
Carry on.
What do you want to say goodnight? What do you want to say?
You do it, John. No, you do it, John.
No, but I want your closing remarks. I mean, you said closing remarks over there.
Well, OK, well, my closing remarks are that the left actually tonight need to find someone who can match John Key. And the real story tonight is not how John Key forms this government. He will form this government within 7 to 10 days. It is as simple as that. The story out of tonight is what happens in the Labour Party. All of you have been right tonight about the Labour Party. They needed reform, they needed change. Cunliffe wasn't humble, there was no humility. Key showed real attractiveness with his speech tonight. The Labour Party is the story of tonight, not the National Party, actually.
I think there's two stories. One is the Labour Party, you're right. The other is National. I mean, if you want a reason for why National got 48.1% of the vote on its 3rd term, which is phenomenal, listen to Key's interview, which he did with you, John. I mean, it was gracious, and then it was more. He was actually humble, and he did recognise that he's got to govern for everybody. And also he gave credit where it's due. I mean, Bill English is a phenomenal finance minister, and he's right. A lot of national success is down to their economic management. Now, one of the great things, or one of the interesting things that's going to happen immediately, is that business will love this result, right? If Labor had been in a position to form a government, then the economy would have basically gone into a kind of shock.
Just helps the economy.
So everyone can go to work on Monday morning and everyone will just get about doing what they need to do, because this is the result that business wanted. It isn't the result that people, and I mentioned this before, like the Child Poverty Action Group, it isn't the result they would have wanted. But I think in Key's interview, he was indicating that he does understand that, and National is going to have to show that it is governing for all. But I just think ultimately, yes, two stories. Labor, a dreadful night. National, a phenomenal result.
And listening to Key, that was not a speech that he'd been taught how to... He was just speaking from the heart. Oh. And I think you're right. I think we listened to Key and we heard that he has recognised these things. These are things he's seen that he wants to address.
They did come close and they did get a scare in this election. And in the last 2 days, National have thrown so much money at advertising. They knew it was going to be close.
But that will be Key's message to the new cabinet. Don't do what Judith Collins did. Don't get involved with whale oil. Don't do deals with the bloggers. We dodged a bullet this election, but we may not next time. And I quite like the idea.
I hope that's his message. I hope that's his message. Because, anyway.
I think the major story is that all eyes were on the Te Tai Tokoro electorate when we began our discussions earlier today. Hone Harawira and the Mana Internet Party have failed to secure their seat, and therefore they don't have any representatives in Parliament.
You're shocked by this, aren't you, Tim?
I was surprised.
Yeah,
and
so was I.
And I've looked at the social media, and lots of people are shocked.
But you think about it, Tang. You think about this. On Monday, Dotcom was going to knock out the Prime Minister. He didn't. On Saturday, the Prime Minister knocked out Hone Harawira. That's a phenomenal week. That's a phenomenal result.
It's a great turnaround. We've seen building all week, as I said earlier.
Well, you actually, credit where credit's due. You were the person who was the closest to the National Party result.
And I'm not hugely surprised with the way it's gone, but if I was going to sum up now, which I'm now going to do, I would say 3 names. First of all, David Cunliffe. The Labour Party has more rebuilt building to do now under David Cunliffe than it did when Helen Clark threw in the towel. You know, it is right back to square one. David Cunliffe is not the man, but God only knows who the person is to lead Labor. They may not even be in Labor at the moment.
They're not in Labor at the moment.
Exactly. So that is a huge job. The second person, John Key, exceptional Prime Minister, exceptional leader, and the third person is Kelvin Davis. Yeah. I think we have a huge amount to thank Kelvin Davis for in this election, and if we've got anything to thank Winston Peters for, it's for helping Kelvin Davis.
Yeah, I just want to add to that and congratulate Kelvin Davis. He's, you know, he's tried and he's failed. He's tried and he's failed. Third time lucky. He's got to cross the line.
And he's going to be very dangerous in Labor. He's a loose cannon.
He's going to be very tricky in Labor. Yeah. That's what he's going to be like.
With Stuart Nash?
He's going to be tricky. Stuart Nash is going to be tricky. David Shearer's going to be tricky. He wants the leadership again.
All the people that don't like Cunliffe
are going to be tricky.
Are back.
But that isn't to say that Cunliffe will be replaced, because I actually think that who would want it just at the moment, to be honest.
Well, David Shearer.
Well, yeah, but he's not going to have the numbers. He's not going to get it.
OK, everyone. Thank you. Paul Henry, Taonga Nathan, Linda Clark, tēnā koe to you.
Lovely.
Lovely. Linda, so nice working with you.
Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. And they had one more drink.
Good night, John.
Duncan,
we're almost comatose.
I've got to go to the nation shortly. Can you hurry up?
Yeah, sorry. OK, right. I just want to say a couple of things. Firstly, John Key, your mandate is absolutely remarkable. And that is democracy. And the country has spoken and they have re-elected you as Prime Minister. There is a whole weight of public support behind you. Take some risks. Take everyone with you. Be the inclusive man you were so wonderful in your speech tonight and in your interview afterwards. Govern for everyone and you will be remembered as a great, great leader, whatever the hell that means. But there was a point in there. Whale oil, no room for it. You don't need it. You're better than that. OK, one thing I do want to say is we work with a remarkable crew of people in here and you never see the buggers. And the floor is full of them. The camera people, the graphics artists whose work was fantastic, the directors, the producers, the reporters, the camera crews, the sound people, the producers in the field. You work so hard and you are so good and you are never on the tally, but we wouldn't be on the tally without you. Thank you all. That's it for tonight. A remarkable night for John Key and the National Party, disappointment for Labor, an absolute shocker for some of the minor parties. The Greens, fairly steady. The Nation will be on air with a 90-minute special from 8 a.m. Lisa Owen and Patrick Gower, who work so hard and do such a brilliant job, and all the main players will survey the political landscape that tonight has given us and which will shape the country for the next 3 years. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bloody good. Ka kite anō. Do you want to say it? You want to say it? Ka kite anō.
No, honestly.
And a very good evening indeed.
Steak and chops downstairs if you're really hungry.
Oh, so Susie got her sausage and we got our meat lover pizzas.
There's reporters here.
Jeff, can you hear me?
Look at this.
42% of the party vote to National.
This film is rated adults only and contains language that may offend some people.
This is Harvey Milk speaking